ready? Good to go? All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. We've got a full quorum here at the Durham Select Board meeting tonight on 5/23/23. So we got a full quorum, and let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's see, do we have any amendments to the agenda tonight? No? No amendments, okay. Public comments. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak tonight? We have no public comments this evening. We've got nothing on the old business. So new business, why don't we get right on to Michael Friendly. If you'd like to take a seat here, sir. Give us a download on the Runaround Pond Trail Steward, Royal River Conservation.
So I'm representing Royal River, Mike Friendly from Runaround Pond. Royal River would like to put in some cedar boardwalks in the red area that I've circled, which is frequently wet, although nothing's really wet right now, but,
I didn't give him
one short, sorry.
Here gets the black and white one.
Sorry, Dave.
So we'd like to put some cedar boardwalks in. This is the town property, which is why we're coming to you. That's the first request. The second request is there are quite a bit of invasives, also in the same area, in that red area that I circled, that we would like permission to remove. We wouldn't be using pesticides. It would just be, removing. It's mostly bush honeysuckle, invasive rose. There's some autumn olive that we would like permission to remove, if that's okay with you. And these two things are not related, they're separate issues. So that's really it. And
How long of an area for
the
cedar-
boardwalks?
For the boardwalks?
I measured it, it seems like it's 40 or 50 feet roughly. There'd be two segments.
And would Royal River Conservation Trust be providing the material?
Yes, and the installation.
With the intent of it being a permanent, something that's gonna last long, not just a season?
Yeah, my understanding is that the cedar should last about 20 years.
Yeah.
So just tell me a little bit more about, just because I probably haven't heard the whole, how Royal River and how they manage the land and.
My understanding from Alan Stearns is that there's been a sort of long-term agreement that Royal River would help manage the town property, and that whenever a change was considered, that we would come to you for permission. So this is in keeping with that understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Heather?
I'm just curious if Jerry or George or Alan has looked at like the land use ordinance and what is allowed, because this is obviously resource protection, but I think recreation's allowed. Have we checked the boxes? I mean, if we're gonna be voting on this tonight, has this been reviewed to make sure that what they're asking for, we allow in this area?
I have not talked to George.
I think I can answer the question though. Trail use is allowed in resource protection. So I don't think that would be a land use issue from a resource protection standpoint.
We wouldn't be planning on digging. This would just be laying stuff on top of the soil.
Right, this is typical of conservation land that they do all around the world, is they put these walkways in.
Right, and it's really to protect the trails more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of that goes on, yeah, I'm not sure that we need any of the other boards' blessing for this, other than this board here, just to allow the usage, as long as that was the agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, I move we approve the use of cedar planks to cover the wet area.
Second?
I'll second.
Josh seconds. Any other further discussion? All right, all in favor? No opposed, no abstained. Okay, that passes without,
And I had questions about the invasive species removal. Would that be done by Royal River Conservation Trust volunteers?
There's a trail crew every Wednesday that
Mhm.
anyone's welcome to attend. It's usually a small group of
Yeah.
people that do the work.
And is the Conservation Trust asking to remove it without the use of herbicide because they're concerned about the town's approval of that, or they just don't want to use it or don't have access?
It's a little bit of both. I think herbicides are always a second
Mhm.
choice if we can't control it with just
Yeah.
mechanical means. And it's also near, obviously, water.
Yeah.
So that's a reason to try and avoid it.
Yeah, because the reason I ask is just, I used to be a certified applicator and managed vegetation and removed invasive species like professionally. And if you're just cutting it, it's just gonna grow back year after year. So I wasn't sure if you were saying, well, we'll just cut it and then every year come back and ask to manage it, or if there was a desire to do more of a permanent removal, that they were just concerned we wouldn't
I
like.
think we'd come back to you if mechanical means didn't work.
Okay.
And it was, continued to be a huge effort to control it. But I think with multiple, a lot of
Mhm.
these plants, if you sort of do it multiple times per year,
Mhm.
you can't control it
Yeah,
with just mechanical.
They
It's
have
just,
the
it's more
labeling tests,
laborious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well,
Great.
I see no issue in that either. I'd move to approve the removal of the invasive species by the volunteer trail crew.
Awesome.
yep. Josh seconds. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? All right, no opposed, no abstained. All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing all that work. Yeah, everybody appreciates this. Okay, we got an application for catering permit from Villanova Farm.
So what you have in front of you is an application from Vessel and Vine that wants to work with Rutland Over Farm on 6/23/23, and they just want your approval to set up there and work with Gary and everyone there. So there'll be alcohol served. So it's just a matter of voting to approve or not this application.
So you want, let's see, so 6/23. Are there any questions for Jerry or?
I had a question about,
Can I-
Go ahead.
It would be helpful if a motion was made
Yep,
first,
we
and
can
then
do
you,
that.
to,
Right, do I hear a motion to approve this application for approval?
I'll move that we accept the application for a catering permit submitted by Vessel and Vine for 6/23/23.
Second?
no discussion.
Okay, now we'll have a discussion. Any discussion?
so when I was looking at the permit, it said something about municipal officers or county commissioners must confirm that the records of the local option votes have been verified that allow this type of permit to be used by the Bureau for the type of alcohol to be sold for the appropriate days of the week. Please check the box to indicate that this verification was complete. Do we have a policy or an ordinance or something that is, I'm pretty sure that I've read it before, because I know that we, allowed this at 2 different locations that I can think of. I just can't, I haven't been able to
Yeah, I
find
think,
it.
if I remember correctly, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, that they needed this approval before the state would give them their license. We're usually in a little race here for these approvals to get this done, and then the state says, all right, the town's okay, everybody's okay, and then they grant the license. It's usually not the other way around, if I remember correctly. And surely,
That's correct.
yeah, that is correct. Yeah. So we're usually sometimes running to get these signed at the last minute for folks in order for them to get their, at times to get their license from the state to do this.
Okay.
So,
Well,
but this is like one of their first steps rather than the last step. We're not the final say. The state
Yeah, I'm a
is.
little confused though, in regards to that, based off the email that he sent Jerry, cause he's saying, you know, he already has his liquor license and that he's surprised that he even has to go to a select board, cause he's never had to do that
He
before.
may have his liquor license already, but they still have to pull a
To
permit.
cater,
Yeah.
you have to have a
You
liquor
have to have
license.
a-
Yeah, and that's, yeah, so I'm just,
Right.
yeah, cause he's just saying that he's never had to go to a select board before, so I'm confused about the order of events, cause you're saying he has to go to us first, and he's saying he's never had to go to a select board before.
This isn't a liquor license, so this is the catering.
Right,
the
that's what I
caterer,
mean.
So they're two different things.
Yeah, that's where so
They just go.
what dictates him even having to ask
Go ahead.
us?
Go ahead,
Well, if they're gonna do an event, I asked them that it would be a good idea if you wanted to come to the select board meeting in case you all had questions.
Mhm.
So he's kinda putting that, he's kind of misstating really
Okay.
the order.
Yeah.
If I may, in the past, the board has, especially for private parties, because we do get a lot of private parties, and they, if they're gonna do a private party where they're gonna cater and so forth like that, they do have to come to the town. We had asked the individuals specifically for the private ones to come and explain, because you want a little bit of a notification if someone's gonna, let's say they're up on Staff Bowl was the last, I think there was one recently. You know, if you're gonna have 400 or 500 people attending a venue up there, so there's, the police know that it's happening and so forth. So, once we execute this is typically something in the past that, especially when, if it's a business like us, you guys weren't here a couple weeks ago when we took up the AMVets, were you?
No, it was right before.
It was right before. Yeah, when their businesses are involved and they're subcontracting with the business, they're, you know, we typically, you know, because it's in a commercial place, it's more of just fulfilling the state's requirements that we acknowledge that they're doing this and that they're, you know, they're doing the right and notifying the town. It's where sometimes we even get into trouble, we haven't, but is when it's like those big parties that are 500-600 people, like somebody's holding a wedding in their backyard, and that's where the state wants to know and things of that nature, but these are typically kind of a waiver we want, because it's just more or less notifying the town that we're gonna have it, and we're having a licensed person. It's because of the liquor component.
Yeah, and that's my question, I guess, is what are we even approving? We're not issuing them a permit.
We're not
They're just-
approving it yet.
Right, I mean, so they're just asking
We're-
if they.
They're notifying us, and we're
Yeah.
giving our blessing in case, you know, we didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, this also opens an invitation
Yeah.
to the town department heads to go and inspect.
mhm.
Right.
So on something like this, the fire department's notified at least enough in advance, propane tanks, health agent, which I am, you know, bathrooms on site of a farm, that type of thing.
Mhm.
So it does invite
Yeah.
the town to protect the town.
Road commissioners, parking.
Yeah, and
That's been the bigger issue with the 500 people.
I have no problem with this. I'm just curious what they're even asking us for. So we're voting to approve it, but they don't need our approval. It's more of just a,
They do need our
Blessing.
approval because the state won't issue their license without it.
Right.
okay, so we're not issuing them permit, but they just have to say, and so where I guess I get confused then is because, so he's mischaracterizing in his letter when he says he's never had to ask a select board for this before.
Yep.
So we're gonna be looking for your signatures.
Yeah.
This will
It
complete
might
the
depend on the, it
application.
might also depend on the, your municipalities can do.
I'm not
things.
arguing the merits of it. I'm trying to understand why they're.
Yeah.
So
but
maybe
if-
it's a thing where they don't typically have a select board, and maybe he does events at
Well,
like town council or code
Or
enforcement,
it could be like with the liquor licenses, we've delegated that
To
to
Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've
So
done that
they-
already, and this is another thing that we could actually discuss
Mhm.
about delegating in the future. I'm not sure it needs to come before the board, as long as everything,
Yeah.
as long as the board, as long as the department heads are aware. So that's something we can talk about in the future,
Yeah, and I don't know if these are required in municipalities that have, you know,
select boards.
not necessarily select boards, but municipal services and resources.
Right,
You know, we don't, so we're at the mercy of the state and county per se, so I think, I'm not sure, like, if you held a venue in Lisbon and you had a license, you might not have to do this. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
I'm not
true or
sure.
not true, but I do
Yeah.
know that it's more of a
might be
notification.
number of bodies.
Right.
It's
I'm
more
just-
number
yeah.
of bodies attending, yeah.
It's just section D is just saying for municipal officers and county commissioners to approve. So it sounds like the person probably has had to go through municipal officers before. That's kind of a misstatement in the email. So I just wanted to understand that, but
Okay.
I
Most
have,
people don't ask for permission, they ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, well, and it's, I just wanna understand the process, you
Yeah.
know?
I have another question about a process.
Yeah.
Do we have like a mass gathering permit type of thing that exists? Like how we have temporary structure, temporary whatever? Look at how they're trying to capture revenue.
Not to my knowledge, we don't.
We don't.
Only, I think we do if it's like an approved, this is an outdoor event, like the Dempsey Bike Challenge, so like, if it's a, like the chief, for example, would be a good one to answer this one. Like, let's just say somebody had a barn in town that they rented for weddings and so forth, then we'd be in a different category where they would have to go through planning board or some type of licensure to operate that. But being that it's an outside, porta potties, appropriate parking, notifying the town that they're having it. so
Maybe a
they
temporary
notify the
tent
state.
or something.
There's something of that
Yeah.
application, but if it's of a bigger venue that requires structure and so forth involved.
So I would just like to throw out there that maybe this would be a conversation for our workshop, but if we are in a situation where our department heads are going to check propane tanks, bathrooms, that type of thing, that this could potentially be a situation that we could have as a permit. Like if you wanna do this type of thing in the town, that a permit fee be assessed to this type of thing.
You're basically saying, look at it from a fee perspective.
Right,
This is already a permit, it's already a catering permit, so.
right, this is through the state, I'm talking about through the town.
Yeah.
We can talk about that at the workshop perhaps.
Good.
It's not gonna apply to this specifically, but just to put that on people's radar, I think that's a place that we could capture revenue.
All right. So we've got a motion on the table to approve the application for catering permit for Vessel and Vine, an event at Ruffalo Farm for a fundraising event for the Good Shepherd Food Bank on the June 23rd. I think we already have a motion and a second, so all in favor? All right, no opposed, no abstain. All right, we can sign that off.
I'll give you these two sheets.
Yep.
So what we're signing,
I'm gonna need the pen, Chair.
next item is vote of acceptance for a donation to the Eureka Center. Gary?
Yes, so we've got, let me look at this.
Sorry, quick point of clarification here. Just sign page 3 or sign page, you can read,
Yeah, you don't, you'll just.
just here, that's okay.
I thought the board already granted you permission to do these.
BYOB.
So is it just BYOB?
Yeah.
Oh, good, good,
So,
Go ahead, Jerry.
okay, so what you have in front of you is a letter of a donation from some attorneys on behalf of the estate of Ruth Benjamin in the amount of $1,000 to be donated to the Eureka Center. And you all have to either approve it or deny it. You have to vote for the donation.
I move we approve the donation to the community center, Eureka Center.
Roy moves,
Second.
Josh seconds. Any further discussion? I'd just like to say thank you very much. All in favor? All right. All opposed? No abstained?
You just have to sign that.
I just need to sign. Thank you, sir.
Is this something that the town would typically send a thank you note for?
Yeah.
That's what this
Okay,
is.
Just sign it,
perfect.
just having the chair sign it right
Thank
now.
you.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep.
To the estate of Ruth S. Benjamin. Very appreciative. Okay, department head reports. Calvin, you got the hot seat first.
We've been out, the crews put up, doing all the spring cleanups of the town properties, the cemeteries. We should have them all the cemeteries done before the Memorial Day. So we just have one more to go on Thursday. We'll get that done.
I heard through the grapevine that's going very well. Everybody's very appreciative of that.
Yep. We're doing a very thorough job, and I think they'll go a lot quicker after this first round. We finished replacing the bridge on the deck on Mill Pond Bridge. We had to have all new rough cut hemlock sawn out, put in there, and cut all the old bolts off and replaced that, so that's all new. Should be good for another 10 years or so. We've added gravel to all the gravel roads, and grading those, brought the center up, and got the cross slope at least 4% where it needs to be. We put the truck up to bid, and the ton and a half truck opened bids this morning. They're all over the place, so we're still going through those. We should have something when we get done comparing and making sure we're looking at apples for apples. For the next meeting, hopefully we'll have a recommendation for the board. Mowing all the town properties, well underway. We're in full-blown lawn mowing season. We cleaned out a ton of stuff at the Eureka Center, thanks to the fire chief. He just didn't want it in the stairwells and all over the place, so that had to be cleaned out. We took it to bulky waste. We took it over to the facility in preparation for bulky waste and got rid of it. And we spent a good part of last week getting ready and preparing the place for our bulky waste, or a couple of days at least. And tomorrow we'll be in Wyndham at a gravel road maintenance class with the DOT. So we'll be there from 7:30 to 2 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll have just a mechanic, and we've got one guy mowing lawns here. So that's what I've got.
Right. Thank you, Calvin. Any questions?
I had a question. The gravel road class you're taking, are they going over, I know that state does like a 1-day training for erosion control, and a lot of times folks from municipalities go to that. Is this gonna be taking place at that gravel class, or is that something you guys have on the horizon for the staff?
Sure, that will be part of the,
Yeah.
it's quite intense, a lot of material, so I'm sure
Mhm.
that'll be in there as far as check dams and
Mm-hmm.
jute pad and all that stuff
Yeah,
will be part
okay.
of it.
I was curious. Cool.
Thank you, Calvin.
Okay.
Okay. Chief?
It's been posted on the town website, but the town, on behalf of the fire department, was awarded a safety grant by Maine Municipal Association Workers' Comp. That was for $2,958. That was Captain Dimick applied for that. That's fall protection, so rescue harnesses, fall protection from our ladders, that type of stuff. So we front that, and then we prove purchase with receipts, and then we'll hand it to the town will put it back in the fire department budget, circle of life. And again, constantly, that was just the latest one garnered, but constantly applying for grants. I know Diana just did another one for gear. I don't know, we'll get it, I don't have a price on that, but it's constant. We continue to see, currently we see a 22.5% increase in our call volume from this time last year. So I think we've already done 170 911s. We're on pace for well over 400. And I don't have the responses. Last year, I think we did 512 responses. We'll be well above all that. The rapid response vehicle, as some of you saw, has been purchased and outfitted. Thank you. It is in the station right now. it's been pressed into service. So our brush truck has blown a turbo that was towed out of here. It'll be going to Casco Bay Ford for work, so the new utility is now the brush truck. But that's what it's for, so it's at the station, up and running. And the fire department does appreciate your assistance with that. The Plimo vents, the Magna Grip system is completed, up and running. That was completed Thursday of last week. And it was asked about maintenance. There's a warranty with it. It's maintenance free for up to 10 years. Everything installed, so it's not air actuated. There's really not a lot of moving parts. So it was the best system for us. Calvin alluded to it, but the fire department made good use of bulky waste day. I asked for volunteers. I had a dozen guys down in a dump truck. We filled a 6-yard dump truck from the fire station in the modular. Our side of the modular, not yours, but, so that was nice. It took an hour or two and a lot of work during the week to get rid of some stuff, so, spring cleaning, always appreciative. We do have a new hot water heater. We finally did destroy our last one that was rebuilt 23 years ago. It was rebuilt, so we found a slightly used one and had it put in there by a local contractor that we use. This week, May 21st through the 27th, is EMS Appreciation Week. Girl Scout Troop 500 has already been in, made a sign. I hear they're gonna deliver some treats to our training. I'm hoping this week that, and I'll report back, that some local vendors might provide lunch to all the EMS crews over there. I did purchase some special gifts for them, for everyone that rides or touches the ambulance, because it is a dedicated position. There was a rumor, and now it's confirmed, that the fire department honor guard will be posting the colors at the Sea Dogs baseball game. And I believe that's September 3rd, that should be a Sunday. So we will be putting out a mailer and inviting the entire town, other fire departments, to see our color guard post the colors at the Sea Dogs game. Pretty proud of those guys. They've done a lot of work. That is it for updates from the fire department. Any questions for me?
Hey, Chief, I got a question. The increase in call volume, sounds like it's an increase from last year, which was an increase from the year before.
Correct.
Which is an increase from the year before. So it just seems like on the up and up. This year with that increase, is it the same proportion of EMS calls to fire calls, or is it more of one or less, or?
I haven't done EMS ratio to fire calls.
Mhm.
Population's increased, and it's also increased around us, so their call volume's increased. I believe we've been going out of town slightly more. I don't have the percentages, and I don't wanna guess and give them to you. At the 6-month mark, so in July, I will have those numbers for you in direct proportion of what we do, fire versus EMS versus mutual aid. We do capture and keep who we provide mutual aid to, how many times they provide to us. I need to get with the town manager. I am reviewing a mutual aid agreement with Lisbon EMS. They signed a contract with the town of Lisbon, so they have every 3 years a mutual aid agreement with us. So I need to review it, make sure the town manager likes what he sees, and then give it back to them. So I will get you that. And that's part of the negotiation process, so talking to their deputy director over there, it's reciprocity. If they call for an ambulance and we're available, we go, vice versa. And if we need a paramedic, they do not charge us currently, so that'll be good in the agreement.
Yep.
But again, it's sort of a contract. I certainly need the town manager to review it.
Yeah, that 22% number so that's a lot of increase, you know.
It is on a volunteer, sir.
And my thought is like, I know the population's increasing, but not by 22%, you know, so.
It's not,
So it's a
but,
lot.
you know, aging in place.
That's what I kinda figured.
When population swells around us, that's just statistical. more car accidents, requests for assistance, you know, population increases, canoes going down the river that need to be checked. I mean, it's just, every type of call is out.
Do you keep, are you allowed to keep track by age demographic for what calls are? Is that allowed or is that not allowed?
I think I could possibly garner that on the EMS side of things.
Mhm.
But yes, because that is community risk reduction, so whether that's fall protection or inappropriate medication dosages, they would pinpoint maybe call type,
Mhm.
and they do age for us.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
I like that question, Heather, because it makes me think about outreach opportunities, about slips, trips and falls in the home and questions like that. I don't know if there's an organization that come and do trainings or community outreach to try to help decrease
There's grant
some of those
programs
low
for
hanging
that.
fruits.
Correct.
You know.
And that's everything to overdoses,
Right.
Yeah.
to motor vehicles, slips and falls, cardiac events, that type of thing.
I had a couple of questions that are related to some of these things.
Sure.
If that, is that
For
appropriate?
the fire
Yeah,
chief?
yeah.
Go.
Okay, so the thing that you were talking about on September 3rd at the
Yes.
Sea Dogs, I don't know, maybe Lois might actually be able to have a conversation with you about it, but I know that the historical district is doing commission is doing a fundraiser by doing Sea Dogs tickets, and I don't know if that is something that the fire department might wanna consider, like having tickets on hand that residents could buy, and the money, Sea Dogs sets up fundraising
So-
opportunities that way.
So it sounds like that's probably something that probably needs to go on the town website versus something that the chief would do, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
if that's something that you'd like to consider,
Right.
and then maybe any opportunity where those funds could go towards the fire department, if people did buy tickets to go to that game, is the color guard's gonna be there that night.
Actually, very helpful, because I'm not up on all the other departments and their plans. So if we can commingle, it's like Calvin and I getting together and trying to, you know,
Or even just because
So-
I know that she might have knowledge of
Sure.
that, but I'm also happy to, help facilitate that. I did that for the baseball team with the Red Sox, so if you want me to make a call to the Sea Dogs, I'd be happy to do that also.
I'm working, I can get with you later, I'm working with a representative from the Sea Dogs, so we do
Okay.
have an effective date, and they have been invited.
Okay, awesome. And then, I'm not sure if it was through the fire department or if it was through the town or what the circumstances were around, Mr. Russell and Mr. Enman hanging up all the flags, throughout town, but I just think that that's something that we should, I know that Keith is a member of the fire department. I just think that's something that should be, acknowledged that they did that this week. I'm not sure if Mr. Enman's part of the fire department or not, but,
They are lifetime members of the fire department, always family members. I believe they did it on their own this year. And knowing how much work it is, clearly recognition and some value should be out there.
and then the other question that I had was, I saw the information about the, billing reconciliation, and I
Yes.
know that we had, on one of our agendas a couple of weeks ago, about bills that hadn't yet to be paid, and, are these things related to each other? And are we gonna discuss that this evening?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? Thank you, chief. Appreciate it.
Did we wake you up at 3:30 this morning? Did you hear that one?
I did not.
All right, I'll call you next time.
Call me next time, give me a call. The windows weren't open. Okay, so, no need for you to move your seat there, chief. Ambulance reconciliation is our next subject to discuss.
Right. Comstar, our ambulance billing company, has asked me to get direction on what we want to do as a town or a client on our outstanding billing that we have. So I gave you two forms to review. The first one was the Medicare cost reporting, and that really breaks down, that's the small one. That really breaks down where the the insurance and the bills are coming from. So if you look to the left, Medicaid, Medicare, Medicare HMO, the top three, if you do that math, that's 77.87% of our insurance billing, just Durham.
Yep.
The remainder other, that includes private, it includes motor vehicle accidents, that type of stuff, patient self-pay, veterans, and of course, workers' comp. So the top is really the 77%. I try to think of every question that's gonna come up. This is why private ambulances are struggling. And the town of Durham, like every other fire-based EMS, sort of supplements, right? I mean, through the tax base, we supplement. We do not make a profit. We do garner revenue, and of course, that goes back to the town, to the general fund. Out of those top three, the 77%, those are pennies on the dollar. So we may charge a BLS call, that may end up being $1,000 bill to someone. But if they have Medicaid, Medicaid has already negotiated a roughly, these are rough numbers, $300 payment. One-time payment, that's what you get. You can charge whatever you want to, but you're only getting the $300 that they allow. Same thing with Medicare and the HMO. Also, we cannot go after those patients for the difference. So most of the number on that second page that we're looking at, the ambulance billing reconciliation report, and again, it does go back to January 22, but these are cycles, so we may run those calls, but you may not get paid until March, so some of these are previous year. We currently, as of this report, which, as you see, was January 12th, it's a moving number, we have upwards of 39,000 in unpaid claims, or unpaid bills. So they want to wipe them off the books instead of continuing at a deficit.
Who's they?
Comstar billing.
Okay,
So that what they do is they write it off, and then the town writes it off also, and we start anew. So I started asking around to different towns, because you're going to know what do others do. I won't speak for private ambulances like United out of Lewiston, or even Lisbon EMS. So Brunswick actually has a full-time position in the town office that goes after them. Collector, and says, hey, you owe us $300. How about $10 a month for 30 months? I mean, that's what that person does. I called and talked to the chief in Yarmouth, and they think that their taxes pay for it, and they have roughly the same clientele, only more. They write off up to $200,000 a year, the town does,
what town?
Yarmouth.
Thank you.
And so when you're saying right off, the town covers it.
The town covers it, they do not go after them, they don't send them to collections, they don't.
So essentially, the folks who didn't pay the town subsidizes that for them,
Yes,
to the tune of 200,000 a year, and that's where they stop after that? What happens?
they're averaging 200,000 a year write-off,
Okay,
so
so they're not capping.
we're at 39,000,
Yeah.
currently they're at 200,000,
For the year.
yes. Year end, over year.
How does their population compare to ours?
I don't know, I think it's double. It's well over 8,000, it might be 9,000 now.
Can I ask a question,
sure.
just for clarity?
No, this is very important stuff.
So, we started the conversation talking about Medicaid, Medicare,
Yeah.
those, right? And $300, where the bill could be 1,000, we can't charge the difference. I understand all of that. How does that relate to this $39,000 number?
Direct correlation. So, in theory, and again, these are just theories, examples, and easy numbers. If we charge $1,000 Medicaid patient, take them to the hospital, due diligence, we're allowed 300, the town of Durham will be writing off 700.
So this 39,000 would account for that 700?
Roughly, yes.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanna.
So we can't collect it anyway.
Right.
Correct.
So if.
That's where I'm at, right?
So
Yeah.
we-
Where's, I'm confused as to where the
Right,
question is.
Right, so
Yeah.
how would we send the majority of this to collections
So
if it's a
the-
situation where we can't bill for
So
the
there's,
extra?
there's several options I'm gonna give you.
Okay,
I'm leading you down that path. I just did the math as far as the 77% that we actually can't collect. That just happens to be to us. That is Durham numbers. So if you send the other 22% that we could collect, and veterans actually pay 100%, so you'd have to take that 1.23 out. Collections, with their collection rate and how much they cost, because Comstar Billing actually works with a collection company, it would just be a complete wash. What you would pay the collection company to collect, their rate would be a wash because of the low percentage that we'd be trying to get garnered. So the choices you have are, we can write it off, and every year we can have this conversation in case those numbers change, but I do need direction of reconciliation. You can vote to send every person that's available a letter that if you don't pay in the arrears, you'll be sent to collection. A shot across the bow is what that is. It's a threat to go to collections. I'm told from our billing, it usually garners some revenue. Or you can continue on to that and sign on with a collection company to send the last really 21% to collections.
So the percentage here on that second page is the percentage of that has not been collected, or just the percentage of all
Are you looking at,
calls?
are you looking at the little
Look
one?
at this guy.
Yes.
So,
That's actually the funding that has been collected over that period, but that's been collected.
right, so how much, okay, so what
You
percentage,
see the frequency? That's where
Yeah.
those numbers come from.
right? So what's the percentage of the number that, of the calls that haven't been, I mean, I see the number.
Up
What's a
to,
percentage?
up to 21%.
Up to 20, so it's still the same, okay.
so are you saying, I just trying, I wanna make
Sure.
sure that I understand this completely. I'm using round numbers because that's easier. That $40,000, right? You're saying that we could potentially get 21% of that 40,000. If you're saying that
Yes,
number
so
directly would,
8,000, right?
so $8,000 is what we haven't been paid potentially because the other part of that is mostly
Non-collectible.
Yep.
non-collectible.
Because of,
Because we can't bill them for,
correct.
because they
Right.
have, I understand.
Because of the
So
Medicare,
that is
that
rough
kind of
numbers, that
Yeah.
you're looking at 8,000 in theory.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't have the exact, how much it costs to contract with the company, because they want theirs up front, the collection company,
Mhm.
and then the percentage that we'll actually pay.
One of the question is legitimate.
Yeah.
I get the question.
Sure.
So when you're saying that you can't send the Medicare, Medicaid, and Medicare HMO to collection, but you can say, in the analogy, the shot across the bow, you can say to everyone here, hey, insurance did not pay the total cost, can you pay some or the rest? But you can't even, or you can't even ask Medicare.
You
Can't touch Medicare.
So the
or
only,
veterans.
so the only situation we're in is asking a subset of the population to,
You know, a
Pay.
21%
and if
subset,
they're,
in very, very low numbers.
and, but at the same time, if they're attending a meeting like this or watching it, they're gonna say, well, we know you're not asking everybody else to pay, so why should?
Can we get reimbursed for what we already did pay? If you're not gonna collect it? I mean, I understand.
Insurance
it's-
is very difficult.
I understand it's a low number, but I think the precedent it sets to me is a little, like, why would any of us pay it? And I don't,
There is a hardship application
Mhm.
yes.
that is sent with every bill. We do offer a service. We're regardless, the town offers a service, and we do request to be paid for that service. Although it's supplemented by the tax.
Well, it
Right.
sounds like sorry.
Nope,
I was gonna say, it sounds like it has to be, because if they say the town has to supplement the medical care, because we're saying we owe someone $39,000 and they want it. And so we either need to ask
No, that's one.
21% percent of the people to come up with the $8,000, and then we'll pay the other
That's just
31,000.
revenue not garnered, that's
Right.
revenue that we,
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that, our options are pay the 39,000 or collect the 8,000 and pay the 31,000, it sounds like.
It's not,
You're not
I just
paying.
want,
You're
it's
not
not
paying
paid,
it. You're not
that's
paying
not a
it.
bill,
That's, yeah, you're
that's
not
just
paying
what
any-
we're owed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not
okay,
a bill.
but right, when I say, so, sorry, I didn't say pay, writing off it as a loss.
Yes, it is a write-off.
You could always agree not, or decide not to accept Medicare, right?
Yes. You do sign on yearly that you agree to take what Medicare, Medicaid provides you, or you can go after them. However, I'm not sure who's doing that around.
I
Mhm.
think that would be a very,
I-
very not wise move to do.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think Josh is asking.
We are, and I'll get to you, Heather, we are actually, here's the root of it, and it's not politics. The government is paying ambulance reimbursements, pennies on the dollar. I think we can agree to
Mhm.
that. And they have you over a barrel. You either take the 300, if you will, the 30%, or nothing. We are in a study right now, Durham and every surrounding community, on how much we're actually spending to provide EMS service and how much it's woefully underfunded. Now, whether the government does something with that, that's up to the government, and that's state and federal level.
So I have two questions.
Sure.
One, you said that it was what we would get in revenue was a wash for what it would cost. That was for collections or to send just the letter?
For collections.
Okay.
To sign on a contract with a collection company, send it out, their percentage
Right.
of what they obtain.
And the letter, is that sent by
By
this billing company?
By Comstar.
And-
Comstar assures me that that's part of their process, that they can add a letter to ones, they send out 3 bills. So at all times, you'll get a hardship paperwork if need be. But they send out a bill, they send out a second bill, and they send out a third, this is our third request. And then it's up to the municipality or the user of Comstar, what they wanna do after that.
So if we sent a letter, is that part of the service we already pay for, or is that
Yes.
an additional fee? Okay, so that's something we already pay for, that
Yes.
feels like a no-brainer to me,
We
but.
pay an upfront fee to the Comstar billing, and then we pay a 3.80 collection fee. Whatever they collect,
Mhm.
they take 3.80 negotiated off the top.
Okay, and then my other question
Sure.
is Medicaid, Medicare,
Yep.
they pay, you're saying 30% is the, well,
It's-
I understand it's me not exactly that, but
Sure.
what my question is it 30% of what we charge? Or are you saying they currently pay, so like right now, we charge $1,000. Again, we're all using round numbers,
Yes.
right? And they are paying 30% of the $1,000, or they have so if we charged $1,200,
Still paying $300.
Still 300
So it's a
bucks.
set
Okay.
number, not
Process
a
of
set.
flat-
that was,
it's a
that
flat-
was,
No,
yep.
look,
It's a flat fee.
I've been on the phone all week, I've been, including today, trying to navigate. A lot of this is new to me as far as the billing side of things and representing the town. You bring up all valid directions of thought. The numbers we're using are our numbers,
Mhm.
literally 1,000 for a BLS run. But we have
Can you
increased
say
our
what
rates.
BLS is, please?
Basic life support, so an EMTD rather than advanced
Or
paramedic,
Yep.
EKG, IV therapy, drug
Mhm.
interventions. It just so happens our numbers align. So rough numbers again to those at home, because some people know to the penny what they're provided. They're roughly given 300. Now, again, we can charge 2,000, we're still garnering 300.
Okay, and is that because it's a BLS? If there was a higher level service, is it the ambulance itself arriving and transporting and taking care, or is it the level of service that's on the ambulance?
It's the level of service provided. Just because you have a paramedic, if it's just back pain and there's no intervention except assisting them to the ambulance, they can't drive themselves, if that was still a basic call, if you will, no pharmacological intervention, you still bill at the BLS level.
Mhm.
You're not allowed to bill just because it's a paramedic sitting in that.
Just because he showed up. you-
Correct.
Okay,
So, again, great question. Medicaid, Medicare does provide for advanced, so they have a flat rate also for ALS. Chest pain, you're given pharmacological, IV intervention, EKG monitoring, interpretations, bringing them usually to one of the 2 hospitals that have a cath lab. They do increase their fee that they give us. It's not a lot more, but they do increase it.
okay.
So, another question I have, so when we're talking about, we're not paying Comcast, we're just writing off whatever amount, I mean, you're charging that because that's the cost.
That's the fee.
That's the fee, I mean, and the fees incurred by the cost of the time of the people responding and the vehicle and all that sort of stuff. So, how are you making up for that lost revenue there? It's like that's coming out of your budget elsewhere? Because I know we said it's not like we're paying for the lost money, but
Well,
we
you-
incurred that cost.
You're just not
and the fee.
getting it.
Right,
So
but if
when
I
the-
have to spend $1,000 and I bill you $1,000 and you only give me $300, I still spent $1,000 to help you. So how do I make up that $700?
The 500,000 collecting your budget from the people every year.
So that's what
Exactly.
I'm just saying, is that this, I mean, if
Exactly.
we're not collecting that impacts, how much money you're gonna need to
The
make up
town,
the
the
difference?
town of Durham, like most municipalities, especially fire-based EMS, supplements, so they don't run at a profit.
Yeah, no, and I just am
So
clarifying.
every year I have to review the run volume,
Mm-hmm.
the cost incurred for the fire department to provide one ambulance. Now, you can see Brunswick is providing 4 ambulances, and
Mhm.
they're providing up to 10 people on staff. And that's cross-trained fire and EMS. And that's a lot of times our per diem are also cross-staffed. So that's what I need to do, Joe.
It just seems like a lot of money to have to predict that you're not gonna receive, especially when the call volume's 22%
Well,
higher.
the easy part for me as a department head is, I don't have to look at the revenue, because the revenue goes back to the town and the general fund. So that's actually up to, in that time, budget and the select board during that time, to see how much has been brought in,
Yeah,
regardless of which department brought it in. That could be codes, that could be fees, that could be ambulance receipts, and then how much you want to appropriate back to the fire department for EMS.
mhm.
Yes, sir.
Chief, within the $8,000 or the total number in whole, how much of that money, if any of it, is from when you do outside services, outside of the town of Durham, if you're doing municipal limited?
It's all grouped in one. I couldn't tell you
Yeah.
without guessing. I mean, just for an example, we have asked Lisbon EMS to come to this town so far this year 6 times. I know our ambulance has been out of service a couple days, maintenance, whatnot, and they've come over. We've gone over there 16 times.
Mhm.
Now, if if I use 77%, of 16,
I'm with you.
that would be
Mhm.
in theory.
Well-
But it's socioeconomics,
Let's go
Mhm.
this way.
Okay.
When you do the 16 calls
Yes.
over in Lisbon,
yes.
are those fees billed by Lisbon or are they billed by
They're
us?
billed by us.
They're billed
Mhm.
by us, so we would collect that money. in
Correct, the
theory.
transporting, and that's part of the agreement, mutual aid agreement. And that's not only Lisbon, that's just an example for the people. We go to Lewiston, Auburn. The transporting ambulance bills for the fees and garners them.
And just to summarize on this, I mean, we've obviously had these discussions in the past. One of the problems I had with this is, and we can't do this, was Or are we just billing for outside services, or are we still gonna bill the people of the town? My concern with this is, at least the way the approach is tonight, for example, it's $8,000 loss, which is gonna be, it's not a net positive for the town, because we're not getting the money anyways, because
Never
it's gonna
is.
go, it's never gonna be a net
Correct.
positive. The town already has, in place these services that they elect to put on the books every year in terms of funding. So my problem is when you start putting people in collections and stuff, is when, you know, seniors or people with young kids, they make that crucial decision to say, I'm not calling the ambulance because I'm gonna get a bill in the mail.
Point of clarification though, wouldn't the seniors and folks not go into collection if they're using Medicare and Medicaid? Because
It depends.
we just said that we can't collect.
I mean,
on those.
it depends on what you call a senior, right? If somebody's 58 years old and they slip in the tub and they're not on
But that's
Medicaid.
not part of the.
Right, but what I'm
That's-
saying is, it doesn't seem like if you're using Medicare, Medicaid, or a Medicare HMO, it doesn't seem like it really impacts your decision-making, because you know that we're not gonna send you
Again,
collections and the
it
insurance
depends on
company's gonna.
what you're defining as a senior.
Well, I'm saying the people using Medicare, Medicaid.
And they
HMO.
don't have a choice, the same with people with Medicaid or Medicaid.
Right, but I'm just saying, I don't think that impacts their decision to call, because they know we can't send them to collection and
It's,
that their
it's,
insurance
it's
company's.
not every senior, not every child is on Medicare or
I'm not
Medicaid.
saying Medicare, I'm not saying every senior. I'm
Yesterday,
just saying the majority of our call volume.
I don't
doesn't
get
seem-
what you're saying. Maybe you should let me finish what I was saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
yeah,
Yeah.
one person at a time, please.
What I'm getting at is it's a net negative, and it does impact people's decisions on whether or not they wanna take a ride by the Durham Fire Department.
true statement.
And if we're not, I mean, I know that, I've worked on an ambulance, as you know, many years, a lot of people, and mine was free. People make that decision, even on roadside accidents, they don't wanna go in an ambulance, even though sometimes they might want to.
Correct.
And if the town is not reaping any benefit from this, where all we're really doing is actually funding the pockets of a collection agency, is what is being outlined here.
Exactly.
What is the benefit to the town to doing that?
Our numbers for Durham, it is not a benefit.
Thank you.
That's really
Yeah.
the bottom line right there.
so my thought on the whole thing here is, if we're only able to try to collect from, 8% of the people, it seems like our choice here is either just say Durham will continue to fully subsidize whatever is not collected, or say that Durham will try to get money from the people who, in theory, can pay because they're on private insurance and things like that, and just do a wash for the other 72%. But it sounds like from the collection agency standpoint, it's a wash, because we're gonna, like what Rich is saying, we're gonna pay them so much money to collect that it's break even, so it just seems like
Our
they just
numbers,
eat it all.
our numbers, that is correct, but
Yeah.
I have to give you every option out there without swaying.
Yeah.
Is it legal if you were able to distinguish, I think we can though, because you do the billing, so, right, well, they do the billing, but you know if the bill is going out of town.
Correct.
So is it legal to bill, not necessarily send to collections, but you can't, you have to do it for everybody?
Mhm.
Okay,
Policy,
Yeah.
policy, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's all about policy.
okay.
So-
I just-
so
d-
can
Do
but-
we, go ahead, Josh.
So I've already said, and I will repeat this, that setting precedent, I don't think is in the best interest of the town and townspeople. I understand the concern about collection, I think maybe that should be on a case-by-case basis, but I don't think saying we're not gonna collect, is the way to go, because I don't think that,
So I have a question about
Give me a
that.
second.
Yeah.
So, what do we need, I'm gonna stop this actually. So, what do we need for a actual, what do you need from us?
It's not time sensitive, but
Okay.
we're getting down to making a decision. If you need more information, I will come back in 2 weeks with more information. But I am looking for a path to either tell our billing company that we can reconcile what is owed to us, which is a complete write-off
Yep,
to the town, or if there's another avenue that the board wants to pursue.
sounded like the second avenue was to possibly send a note to the 21%.
The available to
across the board.
collections, that is correct.
Exactly, and then the rest of it, we really can't touch from a number of avenues.
Yes.
So, do you need that motion tonight, or is this something that,
That's up to you five, if you have
So-
enough information to make that decision tonight, or you need more.
okay, does anybody wanna
I,
make a motion?
I
I
have
just
a
wanna
quick-
clarify,
Well, we're gonna have a discussion afterwards, so does anybody wanna make a motion?
I just wanna
Otherwise-
clarify one thing before we make a motion. You said that our option was to do collections or to write off, but
No,
there was
I
the
said-
intermediate.
No, I did not say collections, I said sending a letter. I don't believe collections is the way to go, it's a wash, I think that's a waste of money. That's my opinion, you can make a motion if you'd like. You can make a motion for that, you can make a motion for sending a note out to the folks that didn't pay that are eligible to be billed, right? Continue to be, exercised. They would be the same people that you can go collect on, right?
Mhm.
With that same small 21%. And, or you do nothing, as the chief is saying as well, and just do the write-off of $39,000, which it sounds like the collection part's a complete write-off, meaning it's a wash. We're gonna get 8,000, we're gonna pay 8,000, done. You don't get anything out of that. So it's send a letter out is the other option, and you might get some of the money back, which that's probably, goes back to what Josh was saying, that, we didn't wanna set a precedence, that wouldn't set a precedence, or you just write it off, and that could set a precedence later.
I'd
That
like
would
to
be
make a
the-
motion to send the letter to the available people that we can collect from. That is already part of our contracted service.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it. So,
Okay, so, I got a motion for the letter, which is under the contract with Comstar, I got a second from Joe. We have any discussion?
yeah,
About that
this is the
subject.
question I had. So, to get to Josh's point, I wanted you to clarify, Josh, what you were saying when it came to setting a precedent. So I seconded the motion so we can move into discussion about something.
So if we set a precedent that we're not gonna collect, then why would anybody, and why would these other insurance companies pay? Why
So
would-
that was why I wanted you to
And-
clarify, because that's what I thought you were saying, because my understanding of what your statement would be is that if we set the precedent that we won't collect at all, then next year, if this number is even higher, people are saying, well, they said last year we don't have to pay, and they said the year before and then you get to the point where, why are you telling us we have to pay more now? And then to your point, Heather, of like, we already have this service and they already would freely offer the,
I'm not
second contact of, hey, you do owe us money for the service you incurred, can you afford to pay it? They might say no, or they might say, I can send $100,
Is the letter more of a, like, we're gonna send you to collections in 30 days if you don't pay, or is that what that letter states?
I can get a copy of what that letter would be for you all, if you need to feel better about sending that or voting on that. But it is, if, as I understand it, a generic letter, we can certainly maybe impart language, but it is, you may be subject to collections if this outstanding balance is not paid.
So, I'm not, see, 'cause I'm just thinking here, aloud, that I don't believe people sit at home and think, geez, I'm gonna call the ambulance to get to the hospital because it's free, okay?
I think some people do.
Yeah, probably a very, very small
I'm going to
percentage.
now.
Not necessarily
I
free
mean-
though, if you have
But,
insurance,
but
this
I
is
mean,
above and beyond.
it just doesn't
Well,
pass the straight face test.
I don't have to pay that deductible.
Yeah, but it doesn't pass the straight
I
face
mean,
test. It really doesn't.
That time when
So-
I couldn't get off the floor because my back hurt and I sat on the floor for 3 hours,
Mm-hmm.
I could have called for a free ride down. But
You
that's,
could have.
but that's not part of this discussion that I want. My question is, if it's part of our service, are they already sending this letter?
No.
Why not?
Our contract currently, that was inherited by me with Comstar, was three attempts of payment.
I thought this letter was included.
This letter, as far as you will be brought to collections, or you shall, that is not currently what we send out.
But it's included in the contract we have with Comstar.
It is a option.
At an extra cost?
They get 3% of what they collect.
They still
They
get.
already get that.
Well,
But does the sending of this letter that we've been talking about?
I was under the impression, no,
Mhm.
it doesn't add cost to our contract that we have with them, but it does garner them an opportunity to garner their 3.80.
I get,
off the
yeah,
top.
no, yeah, that makes sense. Rich,
Off
you
the
got?
top, but not out of our pocket.
Well,
If they get paid based on that letter, it's not coming out of the town's pocket. They're gonna collect their 3.8 whatever
Off the top.
percent
yes.
of what they collect. Right?
So that they, I believe they send the letter for free because that's another opportunity for them to
Make money.
garner 3.8%.
Rich had a question.
I can confirm though, these are great questions that I didn't confirm.
These ones are easier for me.
Okay, thanks. I need it.
Have we ever sent anybody in collections in the past?
I'm not aware of that.
Neither am I. This bill is for past bills. This is not moving forward, correct?
I believe it would be for past bills, but once they send out the 3 collection notices, that could be part of the package.
No,
Going
correct.
forward.
No, but we're discussing
We're talking
tonight
about
about the $8,000
reconciliation.
that has been owed from the last year.
Rough numbers,
Right.
yes, yes.
So if a town has never collected in the past on this, wouldn't the question be, how are we gonna move forward? Because we haven't set a policy yet, we're gonna collect on these monies.
Correct, so I almost need,
We need to
Two.
establish that
Yes.
that's where we're gonna operate here on out. But the people of the past, unfortunately, you've never collected from anybody.
Correct.
So why do these people have to bear that now when we've never even made that?
But we've also never written it off, so it's out there as a
We
bill.
write it up every year, there's always money
Yeah,
on
there's
page.
always, we,
So,
and the reason it's not in front of you is because they've switched billing companies
Right.
3 times.
This is a common thing, is what I'm getting.
Yes, it
Like,
is.
this is not, I mean, we're using the word write-off as if we're a business entity collecting money for profit.
yeah.
That's not what's transpiring here.
Correct.
But
It
we
is-
don't, we've never set a precedent of sending our citizens to
Collect.
collections
Correct,
for using our service.
correct.
So if we wanna install that moving forward, I have no problem with that. But to just now all of a sudden say, from here on out, anybody in the past, are we gonna, what is our time frame on this? Are we gonna go back the last 5
So-
years? Are we gonna go after the last year?
So why do we bill them at all?
We don't.
If, I
Counselor
mean,
does.
so, I mean, if we're billing them for our service, why are we even bothering charging over the maximum their insurance company will
It is
pay?
it is to,
Because it sounds
Right.
like,
Well,
in my
and
mindset,
That's a different problem.
in
So
my
it's a fair-
mindset, it's a precedent to make every effort to pay a bill you receive, like,
it is to supplement what the town has fronted, if you will. That is owed to the town for providing a service
Of the taxpayers' money.
of the taxpayers' money. And it goes back to the taxpayers.
It goes
I
back
want
to the
everyone
taxpayers.
remember that. It goes back to the taxpayers for them to decide how they're gonna use it.
So in a sense, if you use their service, you get taxed twice.
but if you don't use their service, you subsidize your neighbor who uses
No.
it.
In a sense, I mean.
I don't
what's next
think
to-
that's not a
You're
straight face
reimbursing
that's
the
not a
town for
straight face
services
argument.
Do we reimburse the town for a chimney fire?
I don't
I've
think,
never had one of those.
I've politely had my hand up for a really long time, I'd like to say
Yep.
something, please.
Go ahead.
Someone said something about the other insurance companies potentially not paying if we set the precedent that we don't bill. Is that a situation that we could be in? Do other insurance companies then stand to not pay if we're not doing that? I just wanna make sure that.
No, because that's what you pay insurance for. They get billed, that's what you,
Mhm.
that's what your monthly, yearly pay is. Automobile, the veterans are not gonna turn around and go, hey, I hear Durham's not really charging, I'm just not gonna give it to you. You're owed as a consumer to pay in promise. I don't wanna speak the legal language, but you've already paid up front. Whether you're a veteran, you've certainly paid with your butt, thank you very much. Or workers' comp or self-pay. So, and look, there are cases, and I've seen them, that insurance companies pay their customer, so the customer can pay the bill. And sometimes the customer will not pay the bill and reap the benefits of that insurance payout. There are a lot of what-ifs, to go back to all the questions. Yes, there are people that know that are on some of these subscriptions, that I will not be billed, I will not see a bill. The state will, I have nothing to do with it, and I will call you every night for 4 nights in a row. Just happened. Or, the flip side is, yesterday a citizen said, my back pain, or Sunday, whatever day it was, my back hurts so much, but I don't have insurance, I don't even wanna call you. I will call the fire chief direct and see what he suggests. So it goes back to everybody's point of view, that sometimes they do say, I don't have insurance, I might sit here on the floor for 3 more hours.
Do we offer a self-pay rate?
No, it's our fee for service. Now, just know this going forward, there are local fire department-based EMS that we touch that are now charging for lift assists. Something that, I've been doing this a long time, I would never suggest, but they are actually, every time somebody falls and can't get up, they're actually charging that person. And again, that was to deter others of using the service as primary care. I want, someone to talk to, I want assistance go in the bathroom, there is a lot of abuse of the EMS system, regardless of geographics.
So, I don't want anyone to hesitate calling for help at all. I mean, because I know people who chose to drive to the hospital because they were having a heart attack to save the money and died on the way. It's like, I don't want that to happen. But I also think before we're asking the entire community to foot the bill for people, we should at least ask the folks if they can make some sort of contribution for the care that they received. Because if we're talking about like the taxing twice, like if I go 5 years without ever getting help, but my neighbor gets it all the time, I'm paying for my neighbor 5 times and I may never get it. So I just think we have the responsibility to say, before we write off a lot of money, we ask, can you meet us anywhere? And if the answer is still no, then we come back and say, as a community, we've decided we want to subsidize this type of health care for our community members, and that's okay. I just think asking for the money from those who we can, even if they said $50, $100, is a smart thing to do, personally. And that's why I second your motion and ask Josh for his clarification. So that's just my thought process on it. I don't want to seem callous here.
When you were saying the thing about a payment plan of $10 a month, is that something that is set up if they went the collection route, or is that something that's set up if is that something that people can set up regardless? How does that situation arrive?
I believe there's a form that is sent out with the bill that says partial payment or can't expect, that type of thing, to the billing company.
Okay. Jerry, do you have an opinion on this?
No. So I mean, it's really up to the board to decide. I don't,
I still think you have to
I
set,
don't want-
regardless of how the board wants to go, and I'm fine either way. And most of the input that I will take would be from the chief. It's just, the first thing we need to establish is if that's how we want to proceed.
Right.
Like, we're talking about back pay. This has already happened. Now we're saying, so everybody that this happened to in the last 5, 6 years, if you happen to get hurt last year, we're gonna charge you.
Well, we already charged them.
Didn't
We sent them a bill.
Weren't they already charged,
Yeah.
or isn't there already an expectation?
But some of this is supplemental stuff, meaning their insurance has paid money. They just don't have, let's say, a veterans policy or a Medicare or a Medicaid policy, where they might only be afforded $500 per ambulance per their insurance. And the remainder is maybe the additional $500 because chief is charging that. But if chief can't pick them up and Lisbon comes over here, they might have to pay more money, or vice versa. I think you gotta establish some type of policy before you start billing people.
It seems like our policy now, though, is you are not expected to pay anything other than what your insurance pays.
And that's fine, if that's the policy, that's what we have to go with until we set a new policy.
But was that ever a policy decision that was made that said in Durham, if you call, your insurance pays, and then you don't have to pay the rest, and the community subsidizes the rest.
You can argue, you could argue.
I'm just asking if
Policy-
that was a
The
policy.
policy, I wouldn't know that, obviously it's not, or he wouldn't be here.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I mean, that's a simple, that's not even really a question anybody
Jerry,
can
I feel
answer.
like you have something to say.
Well, I would say, depending on which direction the board wants to go in, if you want a policy, that is something that I can work on with
That's
the chief.
correct.
Yeah.
That's where.
To
I was-
bring to you folks,
That's
but
what they need.
That's what we need.
but as far as my opinion goes, it holds no weight in this.
Right, so we have a motion on the table to, write it down,
Just to send the letter,
to send the letter out.
the collections letter for
Yeah.
Comstar.
Yep, so,
The clarification I
Let's-
have on that is I wanna know if that actually triggers the collection process, or if it just says
it doesn't.
may, cause you said you
Does
does not.
trigger.
All is a shot across the bow.
Mhm.
Chief, they'll do that for free? Like they
I
just
will-
swallow all the
I
postage
will
and all that
confirm
stuff?
that, I will confirm that tomorrow.
Can you also get a copy of the letter?
I will do that.
Please.
Yes.
Thank you. Am I allowed to say that?
So-
Do I have to say that to you?
No, no, no,
Okay.
you're fine.
Sorry.
We're good.
Not to me.
So we have a motion on the table. Everybody's good with that motion?
Mhm.
All right, so,
Could you repeat the motion?
the motion was to send the letter to the 21%, based on the numbers here, of, I'll call it mostly private insurance bearers that have an outstanding balance through Comstar. It's not a collection notification, it's just a final notice,
It's a threat of collections, right?
threat of collections for the 21% of the folks that were legally obligated or able to go and ask for that additional monies
For the 2022
for the
fiscal year.
2022 fiscal year.
I mean, don't you think we should wait 2 weeks and make sure it's not gonna cost us any extra
Yeah, I
money?
was
Well, we got a
gonna,
motion on the floor,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we
Well,
got-
I know, but
Motion.
I was gonna move the table it.
So,
Just vote the motion down.
with that,
Just vote the motion down. Then we must do it.
Right.
It's the proper thing to do.
I guess we could vote the motion down saying we want more,
So-
to table the topic
So,
till we get
all-
those answers.
all in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carries,
Mm.
opposed,
Yeah, motion denied.
motion denied, yeah.
And so this will be on the agenda at the next meeting under old business?
Well, we've asked the chief for a couple pieces of information. We've asked for a copy of the letter that would possibly be sent out. And we've also asked for
Cost of
the
such.
cost of,
Mhm.
of that effort.
And you said, Chief, this is not something like Comstar is saying, next week they need an answer, they can wait.
That is correct.
But we would definitely need to talk about it, make a decision in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it again and we'll see what motions come up in
Mhm.
2 weeks, yep. And then we can, also discuss, whether we have Jerry, everybody can think about this for a couple of weeks, then we can task Jerry at that point if we want to add to his list of many things, to look into this a little deeper, for some policy setting,
And sometimes
goals.
other questions will be brought up. It should certainly go through either the chair or Jerry to go through me, chain of command type of stuff. We'll get it to you.
I know I'll appreciate a little bit more time to think about the whole situation, because I think it's a pretty serious topic.
That'll give everybody time to think about it a little bit. Okay,
Thank you, Chief.
thank you, chief.
Troublemaker.
And please call the ambulance if you're
Yes, absolutely.
hurt, lying on the floor for 3 hours. It's usually a better choice. Okay, managers report, Jerry.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna hand out just some minutes from a meeting. This is just to kind of update you. It's information only. I'm not gonna really discuss it because it's not part of the agenda, but I met with Lois, George, and Alan to discuss the Historic District Commission's role and the Union Church that we're looking to do some work to. That just kind of described it. It was a great meeting. It went well, and there's gonna be more discussion, I believe, on June 14th, when we have that summit that we talked about.
Right.
We are in the process of trying to get some quotes, some estimates to replace the sills. Lois and I are actually working on that together. People are busy, so we're gonna continue to work on that and try to get that, get you something, keep that moving. There is on the website, I don't know if you noticed, but we are asking for committee members to fill out a application to be on the Old Town Hall Union Church
I did see
committee
that.
to work on a long-range plan for that, a long-range vision, so. Applications are due, like, I believe, it was the third week in June, I don't have the date, June 9th, I think, maybe, something like that, is that what it, yeah, June 9th. So once we get those, we'll hand those off to the board, and we can discuss at that time on who we have for applicants and how we want to move forward with that.
That's what my question was, that's a select board appointed
Yes.
committee, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so, but it was a great meeting, and I'm anticipating more really good meetings coming up.
I haven't obviously had a chance to read
Yeah.
this. Is this the definition of what we're looking for as far as this committee?
This is just the minutes of the meeting that we had with Lois and George.
Has that been formulated,
No,
what the committee responsibilities are?
no, not yet. So,
We kinda need
the other half of that is Lois, the commission had a meeting in their minutes, so that's the information that you have.
Who is establishing the, criteria for the task of this committee? Who's establishing that? Is that your role? Are you doing that
With the board.
us?
I would think we need to establish that before we actually appoint people to the board.
Well, right, well, we don't wanna put the cart before the horse. We gotta-
Well, that's what I'm afraid we're doing.
Right.
That's what I'm afraid we're doing, if we're asking for committee members and we haven't even outlined what the committee is.
Well, look, I thought we talked about that last
We
week.
did, but we need to formulate, they have to have a direction, right? We don't have anything written up as far as what this committee is going to be tasked with, do we?
To developing a long-range plan vision for the Old Town Union
Right.
Church.
It's a little bit,
I mean, we can get it more detailed if you like.
no, I just think something simple that narrates what their responsibilities and what they're tasked to do should be outlined in some form before we form a committee.
Okay, we can do that. We'll work on that. Absolutely.
I think it would be helpful personally, because if we have that and we know exactly what they're doing, then we would know, we've seen these applications come in and we're missing someone that's with this certain skill set that could be really useful, and then we could put a call out to the community to say, we're establishing this committee and we need a person with this skill set to serve if you're interested. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and in the description of the app, we did put in there
Yeah,
that
that was pretty.
they had some architectural, maybe experience, or structural experience, or historic property experience. That's sort of laid out in there, but nothing really more detailed than that.
I think it's like a chicken and the egg type scenario, because you don't wanna say, well, we're gonna make a committee to decide what the committee that we
Right.
should make is gonna do. It almost seems like, I think a broad statement, like a committee to focus on long range, and then, the first few founding members might say, we don't need this, we need someone who has this skill set, so I think you almost kinda get the ball rolling.
So
That's
isn't
fair.
this an issue that we should address at the next meeting, since it's not on the agenda tonight?
Yeah,
Good.
I'm just giving you, just a
Yeah.
report.
Technically.
We can,
Yeah.
You're
we
100% right.
can, we'll talk about the next
Yeah,
agenda.
Just giving us a report.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's-
next is
that's all.
agenda items
We
for the
don't need
next.
That's
to-
all right. We
Yeah.
can talk about it later, and next one is agenda items anyway, so we can talk
Okay.
about that. The onboarding process for Royer Advisors and Associates, that's their new name now. That's going really well. The chart of accounts is just about done. We got a few details to work out. They should be fully on board doing the accounts payable mid-June. We are now in the process of giving them everything they need to do as far as payroll goes. And they're gonna should be doing full payroll by July, mid-July, so that's going through, there's a lot of information that they need that I try to get them, the girls out front try to get them, but, you know, when they're at the window, that window takes up quite a bit of time, but we're getting there, they're happy with it, so that's going really well. So just giving you an update on that.
Yep.
Today I had someone from Enterprise Electric from Lisbon come around and look at all the lights in this building, fire station, public works, in the Eureka Center,
Parking lot.
in that parking lot, for the efficiency main type thing. So we should be getting something from him soon, and then what happens there is, once he gets all that information, he actually sends it to efficiency main, let us know what we qualify for. That ball is rolling.
Good.
To give her an example of some of the savings, those outside lights are high-pressure sodium bulbs. He saw those and he said to me, you're probably paying about $1,300 a year for those two lights. When LED goes in there, you'd be paying about $200. So that's kind of the same as we're looking at. Got that ball rolling, so hopefully efficiency main has to have everything by August 31st, where they'll have that, plenty of time to do that, and then I'll bring you what the savings are and the next steps forward. So that's kind of what I've been working on the last time I saw you. So, yep.
This is near and dear to my heart. Thank you very much. I appreciate this. And we had this discussion around heating and cooling, and we didn't want to go down that road because it was the labor was not included, but the supplies were included.
For heating and cooling of what?
When I came here and I made a presentation to the select board about getting a grant versus using ARPA funds before. And
I think the concern at that time was time was
Yep.
of the essence. not-
totally understand. What I just wanna know is that this particular grant, is this a situation where the town will also be contributing funds the way we would have needed to with the last efficiency main grant, or is this all encompassing?
It could be, like this building and the lights are so old, the electrician that I talked to today looked at and said, like, this building here might be 100% reimbursement from efficiency main because of the lights. Other stuff, he couldn't tell me that, but that'll be up to efficiency main to tell us, so.
Okay, and that'll be part of your,
We pay all the money up front, and then we get reimbursed.
I see, okay.
So we don't know, I mean, Public Works looks pretty good. The lights in the bay, where they work, those are really the ones that are getting replaced, because they've pretty much gone to LED almost everywhere else. Than the fire station, but anyway, just letting you know that's moving. So we'll continue to work on that. I also have CMP changing out all the bulbs on the light poles to LEDs too. That might take a little time, they're not, they're busy, but also got that,
Other than this.
spinning that plate too, so. We're getting there we're trying to reduce some of the savings.
So what would happen then if we're in this budget cycle and it were to come back where we have to pay out of pocket and then get reimbursed, but there's still a cost incurred to the town? How, I would not wanna miss out on that opportunity because we're in this current budget cycle. Do you know what I mean?
I'm assuming your assessment's gonna be done here in a month or two, correct?
Yeah.
Usually that's for front money, and they don't reimburse, I mean, it depends, I don't know on municipalities, but like, let's just say you did it for your business and you had these particular type of fixtures, you would get X amount of dollars per fixture back. It's not usually a wash, and definitely doesn't usually make you money, you usually have some money up front.
Right, so because it's not a budgeted expense, is that something that we would still pursue?
It depends on what the number comes in at.
Right.
It depends on how much it's gonna cost.
You-
So we'll cross that bridge when once we get the cost.
I mean, we could always fund a grant line to pay for it, or a
Yeah.
contingency line,
Right. Yep.
just so it's there for these types of things that either get delayed and we're in the middle of our process and, it's,
Okay.
right now we have a hard time finding it, at least in the expense budget, but you still got ARPA funds available, we still got, municipal capital available, there's there's money there that we come up.
That's why I'm asking, I
Yeah.
just wanna make sure that we don't miss an opportunity because, you know, it's gonna come due before we approve the next budget.
Right. Yeah, we won't, I won't allow it to go away.
Thank you.
You folks might allow it to go away, but I'll let you know where we stand with it, so,
Keep on with us.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that concludes my report.
Okay. All right. Let's see, agenda items, thank you, Jerry.
Yep.
Agenda items for the next select board meeting. So, I believe that, we had a discussion, with the, representative from GP cog, the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact, on doing a workshop at the next meeting, for the board members, public's invited, of course. But that would be to, go through, basically it's a training session, 2.5 hours or so, start a little early at our next meeting, do our general business right away, and then roll into, a workshop from that point, for the remainder of the time, where we would have a representative from GP cog and, the director of GP cog come in, present to the board, about the hierarchy of, town government. And then we'd have a second part of the session that would be focused on, agenda items, and maybe some of the items that we have currently, in process in the town. So, that's kind of the overall agenda item for the next select board meeting. It's a pretty slow time unless something emergent comes up that we have to go and vote on, whether it be some warrants or stuff. We'll take care of that at the beginning. A larger subject, if we can push that off, we might push that off to the next meeting. But again, unless there's anything really emergent coming in, then we would probably head for doing this workshop and getting these folks in.
This is on the 13th of June?
This should be on the 13th of June, so everybody, we plan on starting about 5:30, not in the morning, sorry, 5:30 in the evening. Go a little earlier that day, that way we can get rid of our quick business. If Jerry has anything that needs to be signed right away, do a quick meeting, and then close that meeting and go into a workshop meeting. Again, public is always invited to those, but it's gonna be completely focused on the 5 select board members, and the facilitators from GP cog, and there'd be no public input in that at all. 0.
Is 5:30 a hard start time, or could we do 6? That's
We'd like to
something
start
that's-
at 5:30.
Okay.
It's what we're trying to set up with them, so it's, we're trying to get that out there, and get that,
Yeah.
figure that everybody would be here, and, again,
Thanks,
do you have
Judge.
anything else to add, Jerry?
Yeah, I just moving forward,
Or Rich?
yeah, so just keep the agenda light for the next week, because that's gonna be a
Yep.
fairly long meeting. What you got coming up though in the following meeting is you've got the tax commitment coming.
Yep.
Donna will be here, I don't know how those discussions have gone in the past, but.
Pretty quick,
Yeah,
Okay,
very
good,
quick,
perfect.
yeah.
very quick.
Yeah.
And
it's
That's
not-
on the 20th?
27th.
Yeah, remember, the next meeting is the second Tuesday, so I'm jumping ahead of myself, so that's the 13th, and then.
Yeah, this is one of those,
and then
ones
the
you're talking
20
about, Rich, where you're getting 3 weeks without a meeting, because it's the way it.
Yeah, the way the calendar
Yeah.
I
falls,
can't go
yeah.
that long without seeing all of you.
This was Rob Ponto's idea, so blame him.
Yeah, yeah.
It
13th.
eliminated 3
So
meetings a
it's
year.
gonna be the 13th, and
Someone
then,
crunched the numbers on
then
that.
our other meeting will actually be the 27th, not the
Right.
20th.
Yeah, that's my mistake, that's
No,
what,
that's okay.
that's what made, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
confusing.
jumping ahead of myself, but
Right.
just for everybody's edification of what we're talking about from a date
Right.
perspective. And I would actually opt to move if the chief has any more information on the ambulance reconciliation that goes to the following meeting. We're not gonna have that discussion next meeting.
Right, on the 27th.
Yeah, put him on the 27th.
27th,
Yep.
okay.
Okay,
Another thing that I got coming that I scheduled is Chris Hale from Casella to
yeah,
come talk to the board about trash,
Mhm.
recycle, just, before this board became this board, Calvin, myself, and Kevin talked to Chris during the day about this, so I think it's important that we have that same conversation, but have it be in front of this board, so,
And that would be on the 27th.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, hopefully, I had originally told Chris the 20th, because I got screwed up with my date, so I will
So
call
we'll
him
check
back
with
if he's
him.
available.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that, because remember, our contract runs out June 30th.
Yeah.
We've signed the second one for the extension, so
Yeah.
we've got a year to try to figure
Right.
out where we wanna go
So-
with that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're not in limbo on June 30th.
We're not,
Right.
so.
We
so-
do, but
so
let's
if he-
get-
If he needs to be in here in July, then we can do.
Yeah, we
so
can
let's
do
see-
that
see
too, but
what-
I
see-
wanna get that
so-
ball going.
I agree.
You know, I
No, it
don't
does
want-
need to be going, but it doesn't need to happen on the 13th, is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
So that
Want
really,
to clear that agenda on the 13th.
so we're really good with stuff leading right up till July.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
to you, so think about things
Okay.
after that date, so, yeah, thank you.
So unless anyone, so we, all right, so we can, next item is the tree growth penalty. So we need to go, we need to be the board of assessors at this point.
Yeah, so you recess from this, come back.
So I make a motion that we move out of our regular select board meeting to become the board of assessors.
Second.
Heather seconds, all in favor in the usual manner. That's unanimous, so we are the Board of Assessors at this point to discuss tree growth penalty. Go ahead.
All right, so what I have for you was Dawn had given me, it's a tree growth penalty, from William Hotham. It's a whopping $7.33. Basically what happens is he just kind of gifted some property to his, one of his kids.
Yep.
3,000 square feet, I think it was. And when you do that, and that piece was in tree growth, they took it out. It's a $7.33 penalty. We just need signatures, just.
Okay.
Do we even vote to, we just have to? it's,
Uh,
Cause
We
I
did
watched
last
the, I
time.
watched the video last time I saw.
Yeah, you would still vote on it to accept it.
To
You're the
accept it.
assessor.
I move we accept the, change of land use program and the $7.33.
It's a tree growth penalty, accept the tree growth penalty.
Yeah, but you're changing, it's the land use tax program.
Well,
We're not
it's-
changing that.
We're not
just
changing that,
his
we're changing the,
property.
we're just assessing a tree growth penalty, period, that's it.
But he's changing it because he's taking it out of tree growth. Tree growth's a tax
But that,
designation.
but that's with all the deeds, right, that's not, we're.
Right, so I was just moving, we accept him taking it out of tree growth.
You would wanna move with the lot and tax, or excuse me, is there a map and tax
Yeah.
on there?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
the portion of, if it's 3,000 square feet on tax map such
Right.
and such, please remove.
Where is it here?
Is there a map of the designated area that's being
At the
removed?
Lot
bottom.
14, lot
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Right down at
Yeah.
the bottom, very
Yeah,
bottom.
so I move we remove map 14 lot 6 from tree growth and accept the assessed penalty.
The area of the map.
The area of map
Yes.
14 lot
Yeah.
6 from tree growth and accept the assessed penalty.
Do I have a second? Josh, seconds? All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
Yeah, you said it.
Okay,
$7 bill.
$7,
Did they pay cash? Pennies?
pennies. Okay, consent agenda.
Move that we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Not on a consent agenda.
All in favor?
Sorry.
No, all right, we got a unanimous vote, motion carries, consent agenda.
Wait, sorry, did we move out of the assessors?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
I'm
you
sorry.
should do that, yeah.
My apologies. I make a motion, we move out of being the town of Durham assessor. All in favor? Okay, I'm sorry, go back to consent agenda real quick.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Joe, Josh seconds, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. Sorry for the misstep there. Okay, upcoming town meetings and news. We have a select board meeting on 6/13. As we said, we're gonna do a bridge diversion starting at 5:30 PM. Short session. We're gonna limit the discussion. And then we're gonna go right into a workshop with GPCOG and their associates. And then our second meeting of the month is on 6/27 at 6:30 PM at the town office. Planning board meetings coming up on 6/7. Next planning board meeting. We have anything else on the agenda, Jerry, that, any other meetings that,
We're having the planning summit on 6/14.
6/14 for a planning summit?
My town budget meeting tomorrow.
School budget.
Oh,
School budget.
School budget's tomorrow, yes, forgot all about that. And then we have, the vote
The vote is on June 13th.
on June 13th, yep.
Can you tell me what the 6/14 meeting is, please?
It's where George and the planning board and the other boards and committees gonna get together and talk about ordinances and what's on their agenda to work on.
Right, they're going through agenda items.
Moving forward for this year,
Okay.
to get prepared for the next town meeting,
Yep.
what are we changing? And they'll bring that to you.
Where's the, you said the vote's on the 13th?
The school budget vote is on the 13th. Tomorrow night is
No,
the tri-town meeting.
No, I get that, no, in regards to the vote, where is it being held at?
And that's
AM vets for the school,
18th.
okay? All right. Do we need an executive session tonight?
No, we're good. I am gonna have you sign the,
Original.
catering, it's the original, I'll give you a copy, I apologize for that.
And I get all the other ones underneath it for you.
What is this? What's the rest?
The rest are the,
Warrants.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Good, good.
what's that?
Need a motion to adjourn?
Can we adjourn until after, can we adjourn before all this stuff's signed, or do we have?
You can,
Yeah.
we voted to sign it.
Second.
Yeah.
Joe seconds, Josh made the motion, all in favor? Carries, motion carries. Anything else?
All right, thanks, everyone.
Right, your signatures on this, before you go.
You want this one?
No, no,
Did you
I'll-
feel comfortable?
No,
with it?
I'll, it's not the style I like, I'm more
I
of a
know,
ball.
they gave it to me right.
I'll bring my ink and quill with me.
Want a special EMS pen that we handed out in a